Alrighty, so Pokemon Trading Card Game live. Yes, guys, it is real. It was officially announced on Monday. We finally know that it is actually not a rumor. It's actually a new client. It is completely developed by Pokemon themselves. We'll get to that a little bit in a moment, but it is real. It is glorious, and I am super excited for PTCGL. Um, I suspect a few of you are pretty excited too. There's quite a lot we don't know yet about PTCGL. They've put out as much as they can, I think, given how early it is. We still don't know when they're testing, but I think after today's live stream, you'll have a few of your questions answered. Maybe a few of the things you didn't know ahead of time you'll learn today. And at the very least, you'll have some of your concerns put on the back burner for a little bit, I think. I think PTCGL is definitely something to actually be excited about. It is promising. Uh, but let's get into the actual meat of the discussion, shall we? Alrighty. So, first off, I wrote the PokéBeach article for PTCGL. So if you feel like going back to the content of that article, either while we're watching or while you're watching this video, or even just afterward, for whatever reason, go ahead and jump into that. There's a lot of information there. Cover most of what I'm going to talk about today there. But of course, the discussion is a big part of that, and I would like you guys to be involved in the discussion today, because you guys can ask questions, and I can see what I can answer, or say, hey, we don't know yet. So with that, let's move on. Alrighty, so as I said earlier, the development for PTCGL is done by Pokemon themselves. This is done by Pokemon Company International, not by Pokemon Japan. I think this is a huge deal. This means that Pokemon is leaving behind Direwolf. Direwolf were the developers behind PTCGO. They were the ones that kept it going for the last 10 years. It came out back in April of 2011. That's quite a while ago. But they made it work. For better or worse, Direwolf was in charge of the game. And they kept it up to date. As up to date as could be, and as buggy as possible. But they did it. PTCGL is done by the Pokemon Company International, as I said. So, at least in theory, they're going to care a little bit more about it than a company that is not them, right? So, I know a lot of people are excited about Direwolf no longer doing it. I would like to point out, though, that Direwolf is not the only one at fault here, because it looks, to me at least, like Pokemon have been working on this for a little while now. I would say probably at least 2 years, based on what I've seen. It's a good sign that it's being developed. But I think PTCGO's standstill, at least in large part, is due to the development of PTCGL. So PTCGO could have gotten some more updates. I think Direwolf would have been able to put more into it if they had been, paid, basically, if they were allowed to further the development. So let's not pick on Direwolf. It's not just Direwolf's fault. Pokemon was putting their resources elsewhere and just paid Direwolf to keep the card library up to date. Alrighty. So the very first thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about, but to me, based on what I've seen, based on what I've read, I think PTCGL is a web app. So PTCGO, so the previous version of the game, started as a web app also. So you play it in your browser. And this isn't confirmed, but I think it's pretty likely. So the developer, or at least the developer who's talked at all about their involvement in the development of the application, Ryan O'Rourke, has previously worked on browser games. So he was, I think, a co-founder. He was a big part of Thinglefin and worked on a browser-based MMO called Faunasphere. I can talk. And he also worked for Big Fish Games, which also has a big focus on browser games. You can see here in the platform support and in the press release, in both cases, it talks about how it will be available for Windows PCs or on Macs via Pokemon.com. via Pokemon.com. That could mean that you're downloading it from there, but to me at least, with them not mentioning the app stores on iOS and Android, to me that makes it sound like they are going to make it available through the website itself. So you would be not necessarily downloading anything, although there may still be something you have to download for your browser, but you would jump onto the website and then just sign in and play. That could be interesting. That could mean, at least in theory, that it could work on Linux systems. That would be very interesting. I know some people have to use Wine to emulate Windows to actually play on Linux. So if it is browser-based, that could be a good thing. All right. So this is the biggest oh no, woe is me that I've seen. What transfers? So you have this big collection in PTCGO. Should you just stop? Should you just be like, all right, I'm done. No more cards, no more anything, no more trading. I'm just going to wait for PTCGO. The answer is probably not. So most of your collection, all of your core collection, will be transferred over to the new client. It will go over to PTCGL. So this is up to 4 copies of most cards. So, and then when they say most cards, they mean unique copies. So as far as I'm aware, that means if you have 4 copies of Switch from Sword and Shield base set and 4 copies of Switch from Celestial Storm, let's say, you will be able to copy, or it'll copy up to 4 of each of them over because they are unique cards, right? They have the same effect, they have the same name, but they are unique cards. And I'm assuming, but I'm not confirmed, that this also applies to reverse hollows versus non-hollows. If you have Switch, Sword and Shield base set, and 4 reverse hollow Switch, they would both copy over separately. An A-Spec Prism Star, so A-Specs and Prism Stars are obviously limited to 1 of each in your deck anyway, so you would copy 1 of those over. Pokemon V Union, so you have up to 1 copy of Greninja V Union's crotch, and up to 1 copy of any other part of a Pokemon V Union. That's, again, fine, because you're not going to want more than 1 part of any of those cards anyway. And also, they said that you can copy up to 59 copies of Basic Energy cards. So, playset of Basic Energy is technically 59 cards because you have to have a basic Pokemon in your deck in order for it to be a legal deck. So that means the maximum number of basic energy you can play is 59. Therefore, that's a playset of energy. And that's how much they're going to allow you to copy over. Again, that's the basics of what transfers. So, you know, if you have playsets of stuff in PTCGO, you're going to have playsets of stuff in PTCGL. And one thing I've seen a lot of people concerned about is, will my locked copies of cards transfer over? PTCGL does not care what's locked, what's not locked. Why? Because PTCGL doesn't distinguish the two. It's just a card in your collection, right? So with it being a card in your collection, it will move over. That's the biggest deal, right? If it's a card in your collection, it moves over. But like it says on the slide here, from Black and base set onward. So if you have legacy cards in PTCGO, they're not moving over, right? And we'll talk about a little bit more about what's not moving over in just a moment here. One last thing I want to hit on what does transfer, your PTCGO code cards. So to be clear, this is code cards that you haven't redeemed yet. They will still be redeemable in PTCGL, right? So if you have, for whatever reason, let's say you have some Sword and Shield, or sorry, Sun and Moon Lost Thunder packs, and you've tons and tons of code cards for that set just sitting around because you haven't redeemed them yet. You open up PTCGL, you can put those codes in, and it will redeem them. They will still work. So you will still be able to use the code cards from PTCGO for PTCGL. They're going to be compatible still. They may, however, redeem slightly differently. So packs obviously are just going to be packs, but stuff like the tin packets or some of the Pokemon collections may redeem a little differently. All right, so let's so we got a little bit of chat here. Okay, Zymer is saying Maybe they'll choose which ones to keep. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to be able to get 4 of each. I think it's going to be 4 reverse, up to 4 reverse, up to 4 regular, because technically they're unique cards, right? Um, but I also don't think they're going to make you choose simply because that's a whole UI thing they have to include just for people switching over. So it's extra code that they would have to put in just for the switch over. I don't think that's something they're going to bother with, frankly. I think that'd be easier just to say, okay, well, you have the card. Cool. And even if they decide, okay, well, we're not going to copy over the fact that they're reverse hollows. Let's say you have 3 reverse hollows and 1 regular, and they all copy over as regular ones. I mean, theoretically, at least, you should be able to get the reverse hollows by either upgrading or using the dusting system, which we'll talk about again in a second. You should be able to get them. David, can't wait to dust all of the reverse hollows. Let me tell you, if that's a thing and I can voluntarily dust my reverses, I will do it so fast. I am so tired of PTCGO forcing all my deck imports to a bunch of reverses. I was like, I don't want the reverses. I just want the regular hearts. John says, curious because some cards have the same number for regular and reverse halls. So all of the regulars and reverses should have obviously the same number as each other. So a regular switch and a reverse switch will have the same number. But at least on Pokemon's checklists for cards, they are considered separate. They do have separate checkboxes when they have their set lists out. So you'll see like a green square and a red square that distinguishes each. It's like the regular and the parallel foil. Okay, so what does not transfer? It's actually quite a lot. The most important stuff does, and that's your card collection from black and white on, but a lot does not transfer. So your deck lists will not transfer. Pokemon has said that if you are interested in carrying your deck lists over from PTCGO, you need to save off your deck list from PTCGO using the export deck list option and pasting it into something like Notepad or OneNote. That'll allow you to sort off, and then you can re-import it into PTCG Live. That'll allow you to, move your pile. Let's say you're playing a pile like Rayquaza VMAX, and you want to move that from PTCGO to PTCG Live. You can do that. You just have to export the list from PTCGO first. And if you have a ton, and I mean a ton of deck lists that you don't feel like deleting right now, maybe just wait because PTCG Live will do it for you. Your deck lists will not transfer. Your friends list will not transfer. So all of us on the Justin Basil Discord server that are playing on these tournaments each week, we will have to re-add each other to compete. So that's fine. I think that's fine. A lot of our friends lists are probably clogged up with people we haven't done anything with in months anyway. That's fine. And again, cards from black and white and earlier, or rather before black and white, will not transfer, so your junk arms are gone. Some people have thought, or some people have mentioned rather, it's like, well, they're going to be adding support for cards that are prior to Lost Thunder, later on in release, so that they can support the expanded format. Yes, they will. They'll black and white up to Dragon Majesty, which is the set before Lost Thunder, will be added in a future update. But I don't think they're going to be going prior to black and white base set, simply because they're not allowing you to transfer your cards prior to black and white over. So with the cards from black and white base set up to Dragon Majesty, the cards will not be playable right away, but they'll still show up in your collection. They'll be not functional, if you will, but they'll be there. You can see them. But the cards prior to black and white just won't transfer, period. And I think that if they were intending to ever develop prior to black and white, that would not be a thing. They would actually copy that over too. So I strongly suspect that there will not be development of any of the cards prior to black and white. Again, maybe they'll change their mind down the line, but I just don't see it happening. I think they'd rather expend their development efforts on more modern stuff and on new game modes, or like I know the video games have like a challenge where you can only use certain Pokemon, or you can't use the top 10 from last season, like stuff like that. They can do stuff like that now with PTCG Live, and the development will reflect that. I think that not having to worry about cards before Black and White will help that too. Okay, so again, any copies that exceed your playset for their type, we talked about the playsets for each one. They're not going to copy over. So if you have, let's say you're crazy, you got those 1,000 Hatterene V. If you redeem them in PTCGO, you're going to have 4 Hatterene V. So wait to redeem the other 996 in PTCG Live so that you can get your dusting credit. So your credits are, we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they're basically what you get in place of those extra copies. Because you're going to be opening packs in PTCG Live, you're going to want some sort of reward for getting those cards, since you're not going to actually have them in your collection. And they've decided to do that via this credit system, where they give you credit for those extra cards instead of giving you the extra card. All right, so other things that don't transfer, anything related to your avatar. That includes any of your customizations, your avatar items, all that stuff will not transfer. Your coins, your event tickets, they will not transfer. You're not getting any sort of reimbursement for them. They just don't transfer. So if you've got, 20,000 coins, for example, spend them, get some packs, redeem them, do something, use them in some way, shape, or form, or they'll just be gone. Certain coins, so have deck coins that you can use in PTCGO. Some of them will not transfer over. I know they've also said that they're going to be merging coins with the same art. So for some reason, certain coins, even though they have the same art, have separate instances inside of PTCGO. It's not going to be the case anymore for PTCGL. They're going to all be merged together as the same item. Card sleeves, again, certain card sleeves, certain deck boxes won't transfer over. From what I gather, this is primarily stuff that's not related to merchandise, not related to a promo event. So stuff probably that was unique to PTCGO, I would suspect probably will not move over. Also, any sealed products, this includes packs, your uncommon chests, your bundles, all that stuff will not transfer over, but they'll be transferred, or converted rather, as crystals. So this is a new in-game currency in PTCGL. You have crystals, and they're used for very specific things, but the short of it is your packs will move to crystals if you have sealed stuff. And that's up to 125 sealed items. So if you get 125, let's say of Lost Thunder or of Evolutions or whatever set you have 125 of, that'll give you 6,200 crystals in PTCGL so that you can get a decent jump start on whatever you need to grab in PTCGL. Okay, so let's say you're not transferring. Let's say you haven't ever played PTCGO, or you're just saying, screw it, and you're moving straight into PTCGL. No PTCGO for you. Okay, if you're just starting, you get 8 decks to start out at the very start, right? 8 fresh decks. This is not the 3 garbage decks that you started with in PTCGO. These are going to be newer, going to be fresher, and probably going to be more competitively viable. I say probably because hopefully they're not theme deck style. Hopefully they're more functional. But with it being 8 decks, I suspect that will mean a deck for each basic colored type in the game. So grass, fire, water, lightning, psychic, fighting, metal, and darkness. So the 8 core types of the TCG. Yes, Rip Fairy, but it's gone. Not a part of the game anymore. So 1 for each of these. That is my suspicion, speculation, but I think that makes sense given the 8 that are going to be available. There will also be a new tutorial guide that's going to help you through the rules of the card game and get you introduced to it so that you know what the heck's going on and you can actually stand a chance against your opponents. I think that's one thing PTCGO did fairly well. It's like, hey, this is how you play. This is the basic rules. What PTCGO did not do well is everything after that. You have this mental might deck that has genuinely no chance in heck at ever winning a game against anything that isn't another one of those starter decks in PTCGO. and you just really struggle because the deck they started you with is hot trash. But in PTCGL, you're not going to have to worry about that anymore. All right. So again, what's available at launch? Yes, John points out no more red card and AI matches. Yes, finally, you don't have to worry about the AI using banned cards in AI matches. I know for the longest time they were using Wally back when Wally was banned. They were using red card, still are using red card because they haven't updated their deck lists in so long. I'm just gonna be glad when I can test a deck against something that's fine. Like I don't have to have a fully functional deck, obviously, to test a deck, but I would like to test it against something that isn't like 5-6 years old and has banned cards in it. I'm just glad that we're moving on from those terrible decks. Cards available at launch. Okay, like I mentioned this earlier, but Sun and Moon through Lost Thunder, Sun and Moon Lost Thunder rather, and whatever the most recently released set, that's what's going to be available to play in PTCGL. So that's right out of the gate, Sun and Moon Lost Thunder on, right? So this means that basically standard and I guess technically unlimited or non-standard, if you will, are going to be the only things you can play at launch. So with friends, I would imagine you can play from Lost Thunder on, and for standard, obviously the current standard formats or Shield on. That's all there will be at launch. Expanded will not be in the game at launch. They've said that that's going to be coming in a future update. I hope this is a month down the line, here it is, update, and not a year later, here's expanded. I think that would really hurt. Not great. Mark says, so theme is dead, correct? Yes, theme is not an official format, and theme decks haven't been developed since Battle Styles, so I strongly suspect there will no longer be a theme format. There's not really a reason to have a theme format in the game anyway, since they're going to have these viable, or at least somewhat more viable, starter decks for you, so you can jump straight into the standard format. I think that's great. I think I really strongly detest the fact they forced new players to play the theme format just to get packs or coins or whatever they need to move on. Because let's face it, a good chunk of the time, these theme decks were who gets luckier on drawing, right? Who gets the heads on, or who gets the success from the rock, paper, scissors when playing Dan? Who gets the heads on bug catcher? Like, these are not great cards. And I think it's great that they're moving away from that. Like I get some people really loved the theme deck format, and I think if you've got friends that want to play that, you can import your lists to PTCGL and play against them. But Soaring Storm and Relentless Flame, they've worn out their welcome, and there's not going to be any new theme decks to tell those decks off and move them out of the top. So it's really just it's best to move on. And I think because they are able to break away from the theme format. I'm just glad for it. I know. Will Fem says, do we know what 8 decks will be able to start? No, we do not. I mentioned earlier that I think they're going to be 1 deck for each type. That's not colorless, obviously, and not fairy. So the 8 core types. But beyond that, I have no idea. We don't know. They haven't told us anything other than there will be 8 decks for new players. All right, so I already mentioned, again, Dragon Majesty backward will coming in a future update, and doesn't appear to be any plans to implement anything prior to Black and White. It's just the case. It doesn't look like they're going to put anything on there. It's unfortunate though it may be. We can't have our base jungle tournaments on PTCGL. That's just how it's going to be. All right. So real quick, a little intermission here. Obviously, this Lost Thunder on thing is going to affect the alternate formats for our Discord server. So what this is going to mean is once we switch over to PTCGL, there are only going to be 3 formats that can be voted for in the alternate formats. That means Aceless, which is already valid because it's Sword and Shield on. That's standard format, but obviously no multi-prizers. And then two weakened formats, we'll say, two smaller, shrunk formats that will still, I think, function in this limited card environment, and it's Pauper and Type Focus. So this next month, or October's alternate format is Type Focus, which is black and white through current, given the specific type. But for these format tournaments alternate format tournaments that we're going to be using once PTCG Live is out, it will just be Aceless, Pauper, and Type Focus. John's asking about Plus Ultra. So I've actually removed Plus Ultra completely from the list. There are two reasons for that. One, Ultra Ball is being reprinted in our March set, so it's coming back anyway. In is not in there, which is the other card that gets added in Plus Ultra. But I feel like it's probably just not worth it for one card to be added. And since In isn't going to be in the PTCGL client at launch anyway, it's probably just, there's no difference because Ultra Ball will be there. So, meh. Just not, Plus Ultra is not going to be really, it's not worth it. Wilfem says, from the limited amount of information we have, any advice on best actions to take in order to get maximum value at transition? So the things that I've seen that I think are worth noting: grab 125 packs of whatever you can get cheap. So if that's Evolutions, if that's Steam Siege, whatever it is, get that, hold on to that so that you get the crystals when you transition. Try to get the most important cards that you don't have with all your extra cards right now. So if you're sitting on 40 copies of Professor's Research, but you don't have any copies of Energy Search, maybe see about filling in those playsets so that you don't have to use your credits in PTCG Live to get those cards, right? Fill in your uncommon slots by trading away your excessive uncommons. Same with commons, try to get some value out of it so that you don't have to worry about using all your credits on commons and uncommons when you switch over. All right. So once Black and White through Dragon Majesty is added to PTCG Live, we will expand the pool of available alternate formats to be voted on back to the full list. Okay. So that'll be back. All right. So back to PTCG Live. Trading. It's gone. This is probably one of the most controversial decisions that they've made for PTCG Live, with some people, myself included, especially when it was first announced, jokingly referring to PTCGL as PCGL because the T is gone. At first, it's pretty upsetting, but I think it's actually going to be good for the game. There's supposed to be a new dusting system in place of trading. So for those of you who aren't familiar, dusting basically means that your extra cards get turned into credits. So we mentioned this a little bit earlier. If you have more than 4 copies of Hatterene V, the 5th one gets turned into credits that you can then use to spend on other cards, right? You can change your bulk into something worthwhile. Now, you're probably not going to be getting a 1/1. So let's say a Hatterene V, if you were to buy the card on PTCL, let's say, again, this is completely an example, probably not the right values, but let's say it's 100 credits. You're probably not going to be getting 100 credits for it because you wouldn't be able to just turn around and buy a card of the same value. My suspicion is you're probably going to get something like a quarterback, so maybe you'd get 25 credits, and then you could use that to work your way toward getting a different card of that rarity, right? It's good. It means you can change out cards you don't want for cards you do. It's pretty great. An example here on my slide is, let's say you open crap tons of packs of Darkness Ablaze, and like some of our favorite YouTubers, you open like 50 Butterfree VMAX. Well, 46 of those become credits, and you can change all those credits into something you do actually want, right? We don't know the conversion rate, but it does look promising. with an extension to trading being gone means there aren't going to be any garbage trades. There's no be more scam trades. You don't have to wait for the laggy, glitchy trading system in PTCG to get cards into for your deck. I know every set release, I spend 2-3 hours minimum just waiting for the trade screens to load so that I can get the cards that I need to build whatever deck I'm planning to build. And it's just agonizing. Like, yes, they could fix it, they could optimize it, but just don't bother. It's done. It's over with. So Tandem says the trade market is cancer. I'm actually 100% happy for trading leaving. I am too. There are some big advantages to trading being gone. John's saying, cost of Umbreon VMAX equals cost of Caparaj VMAX. From my understanding, actually, yes. In credits, yes, they will be the same credit value because they are both ultra rares. So because of that, the Umbreon VMAX and Caparaj VMAX are going to be the same value. Now, if you've got a Caparaj VMAX and you dust it, or it gets dusted because it's an extra, let's say, like I said, you're probably not going to be getting full value for it for dusting because otherwise it'd be too easy to switch cards. But at the same time, you get credits that move towards you getting that Umbreon VMAX, and that Umbreon VMAX would ultimately have the same value as the Caparaj VMAX if it were to get dusted. So that means that if, let's just say for a hypothetical, I don't know, a certain card like Suicune V goes from being worth like 4 packs to being worth like 20. You don't have to worry about it because PTCGO is gone, right? There's no more super hype card price increases, no crazy spikes anymore because it's an ultra rare. That's all that matters. It's an ultra rare, right? And because of that, value should be the same. Dave Ramsey says, Dave Rainey says, it would be nice to have an option to trade with people on your friends list, but I'm okay without it. I think it's best actually that they don't allow that. I think it's best they don't, because right now, one of the things that happens when people compromise your account, right, is they set up a trade with you and take all your cards and then hawk them online. Well, if these trades are available, if you can trade with your friends, that means that kind of account compromise is still possible. So that they can jump on your account, steal all your stuff by sending it to their account, unfriend you, and then sell all your stuff on eBay. If there's no trading whatsoever, that's not a possibility. So there's no reason anymore to hack an account like that. It's just not. It's not worth it. Says any confirmation on whether energies are included in virtual packs? It seems like they'll eventually just all be dusted. I don't know. We don't know. The only thing we've seen from opening on the packs is going to be in the next slide here, and honestly, I just don't understand it. They haven't been super clear on how packs are going to work in PTC's Live in the first place. And frankly, I think I'm going to really miss the animation for pack opening on PTCGO. I think that's one of the things that PTCGO did really well. You have that suspense for opening a pack. They recreated that, oh, am I going to get it feeling really well in PTCGO. Will code prices spike as a result of dust being a thing, or will they be unchanged? I suspect they will spike pretty drastically, at least at first. And the reason for that, well, I should be clear. Older packs, I think, are going to spike pretty drastically. I think they're already spiking just because people are trying to get the cheapest packs they can. But think of it this way, right? With dust, if you already have a complete set of whatever pack, like Steam Siege, right, and you have 1,000 Steam Siege codes, at least in theory, that means you're getting dust for everything, right? Dust, 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 dust. So that would mean that these garbage packs, or packs that are garbage now, suddenly become actually not bad, right? If you have a complete set, and maybe that's something you should be trading to on PTCGO. If you have a full playset of a set, like if you have a complete playset of every card in Steam Siege, these Steam Siege packs suddenly become worth a lot because simply opening them is credits. That's good. So what happens to PTCGO when PTCGL releases? Is it shut down? What happens? So according to Pokemon Company International, PTCGO will actually shut down prior to the launch of PTCG Live. So at least in theory, this means that PTCGO will be off before PTCG Live is live. I suspect it probably won't be by very long, and I know for certain the beta will be out already. But PTCGO will shut down prior to the release of PTCG Live. No more bragging about Reverse Hollow Rescue Carrier. Yes, now you have to actually brag about the Umbreon VMAX or Sylveon VMAX or whatever it is in the back. All right. So I mentioned this earlier, Tandem, but your collection largely does transfer. Up to 4 of cards whose playsets are 4, up to 1 of everything whose playsets are 1, and up to 59 basic energies for each print. All right. So what are credits? Credits are the new in-game currency used to purchase cards in the game's deck editor. So according to what we know so far, when you're building your decks in PTCGL, if you need cards, you can purchase them in the deck editor so that you can complete your deck there. Credits, you earn them, as we've said several times now, when you are dusting excess cards. So those cards you don't need, they become the cards in your deck. Excellent, right? You can also earn credits through playing through the Battle Pass. We'll look at that in a little bit, but basically, it's the new ladder. Is what it comes down to. It says, so in this picture here, it says there are 21 Pokemon cards in this picture, and you get 10 credits for the Clobbopus that got dusted. Because Pokemon's press website, this picture, so the Pokemon press website calls this picture Pokemon TCG Live Mobile Screenshot Shop Booster Packs. So that's a very interesting name because this is the number of cards in the screenshot don't correlate with any number of booster packs. And there are 5 rare or better cards in here. So that would be 5 booster packs. So I don't have any clue what that means for the value here. Maybe these are 5, 6 card boosters, and they're I don't know. That doesn't even make sense. Because that would be 9 trash cards or cards that get bumped out. That doesn't even make sense. I don't understand it because this pack has 10 commons, 6 uncommons, 4 rares, and ultra rare. There's no adding this up. All we can see is the 10 credits for the Clobbopus. Zymer says, I wonder if you can still add missing cards in the deck editor just like PTCGO. You'd have to be able to, right? Otherwise, you couldn't try to get them. Yeah, you'd have to be able to. Coins. Okay, so coins are used for cosmetic items like apparel for your avatar, emotes for your avatar, deck boxes, and card sleeves. So you see in this picture here, a bunch of different deck boxes. You can spend those coins on whichever deck box you're interested in, and it adds it to your collection. Pretty simple, pretty good. And you can get what you want. Crystals. So crystals are the third and final currency in PTCG Live, and they are used to earn booster packs, promo cards, and special in-game bundles. And they can upgrade your battle pass to the premium pass or premium plus. So battle pass, like I said earlier, is basically the ladder. And we'll talk a little bit more into that in just a moment. But one thing that needs to be hit on is microtransactions. So this is one of the biggest concerns people have about PTCG Live is the potential for microtransactions, the potential to milk the game for money. According to everything I've seen, microtransactions are not in the game, at least at launch. But like it says on the slide, that doesn't mean they won't. That doesn't mean they won't be in there later on. Especially with crystals, which I think is going to be the premium currency in PTCG Live. I think there's going to probably end up being a way to buy crystals or buy something so that you can get stuff in the game. But again, it won't be there at launch. I think, however, that microtransactions are going to be a good thing, especially if they implement them in a fair way. Obviously they can easily gouge players, but I think in general, microtransactions are a good idea. They will fund the development of PTCG Live. It'll make them more interested in developing the game if they're making money off of it directly, because they can see, a direct correlation between developing the game and the money they get from having developed it, right? Uh, it's just good. It's something worth having if it means that PTCG Live won't end up like PTCGO. With that said, Battle Pass. So Battle Pass is the new ladder, and with that, you are climbing it to earn rewards. So you can see the picture here, a bunch of different packs that you get for progressing through the ladder. You have daily quests that you can do, just like in PTCGO. Give me just one moment. I have a naughty kitty cat. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Cat decided she wanted to be in things she was not supposed to be in. Okay. So again, you've got your quests, just like in PTCGO. They give you rewards. They cause you to progress through this battle pass. They give you experience in the battle pass, which itself gives you rewards. And then you can see these two layers here, where you have the basic battle pass and the premium battle pass, right? So as you progress, you get these rewards. But if you have the premium battle pass, you get bonus rewards. There are a couple blank spots in here, but I suspect that's just a testing thing. There will probably actually be something there in the real release. I do really like just the style of the battle pass. So this, you're getting credits, you're getting packs, and it looks to be a lot of packs at that, just for playing, which again, that's something in PTCO also did well. You have this ladder where you're climbing it, you're getting rewards just for playing. I think that's great. Yes, it has been confirmed there's no chatting in game. Pokemon themselves have said there is no chat in game. The only form of communications you have are your avatar's emotes. Which, I mean, to be fair, that's basically what you have now, with the exception of the lobby and PTCGO. But like I said, I think that's probably for the best just in terms of child safety. And most people that are playing on PTCGL with friends are going to probably be talking to their friends on Discord anyway. So it's fine. All right, so zoom in a little on here. You can see a little bit more of the Battle Pass screen. You'll see the UI. The UI is pretty clean. I like it. Just in general, the home, decks, profile, shop, Battle Pass, the credits, everything. It's clean. I like it. All right. So ranked ladder. We know that it's present. We know players can compete against other players in ranked games to gain on the ladder. And we also know that casual games are supported. That's about what we know about the ranked ladder so far. We don't know how it's going to show up. We don't know what you have to do to show up on it other than play. We don't know much of anything about it. We just know that it exists from this screenshot. It is in the game. We don't know much about it. All right. Avatar customization. So this is I think it's one of the less interesting features. And as I say in here, I don't really care for the models they use for these avatars. I rather wish they had done something like the avatar system or the model system in Pokemon Sword and Shield, where you have a few different faces and stuff, and those are the ones you pick. I think it should be ideal if they just use those same models for PTCG Live, but they didn't. It's unfortunate, but they didn't. But you can customize your avatar. You can change their skin tone, their head color, or hair color, hairstyle, eye color, and you can also change their clothing and their accessories. Right? You can do a lot of that in PTCGO already, but this is that little extra something in PTCG Live, just to make sure that you feel like you in game. All right, mobile phone support. This is enormous. This is one of the things that got me the most excited about it. The fact that you can play on your phone. I've said many times on Twitter and on Discord, my phone will always be on the verge of death now. And PTCG Live is going to be the reason. I am going to be playing a heck of a lot more online simply because I can play on my phone. Uh, you know, I have an iPhone. There's no way for me to sideload it. Uh, I'll be able to actually play on a screen that it supports. It's great. Android users, if you have been sideloading it, you won't have to anymore. Your phone will just support it natively. It's it's amazing. The UI looks like it was designed for mobile. Uh, Maybe that's not so good for the desktop because there's a lot of white space, but hopefully they'll clean that up prior to release. The simple fact is, phones are supported. There is actually phone support, and that is something users have been asking for forever, and for good reason. It's been 10 years. The iPhone's been out for forever. The Android phones have been out for forever at this point. There's just no reason not to have a huge trading card game not have some sort of mobile representation on phones. It just does not make sense. And they're going to remedy that with PTCG Live. So excited for that. So excited to be able to go, O2 drop in a tournament by playing on my phone. But this is great. I frankly can't wait to be able to play on my phone. It's I wish I were in Canada so I could be part of the beta for it, but I'm not, so darn. All right. Okay, so what we don't know. Almost everything. Like, I've shown a lot. We've talked about a lot. We've mentioned we don't know a lot of things. The fact is, we really don't know that much. They've shown a lot. They've teased a lot, but there's still so much we don't know. We don't know the ratios. We don't know, how hard it is to climb the ladder. We don't know a lot. It's just, we don't. But I think we know enough that we should be and can be optimistic about PTCG Live. At this point, they've shown us a lot of great things. They've shown us that they do care. They've shown us that they've been listening. They're trying, right? I think come beta, if there are issues and there are going to be bugs, we should be vocal about those bugs. We should be vocal about the things that do need to change. But I think we should also understand that they are doing what they are doing for the good of the game. And the game, right? Not the good of digital collectors, not the good of people that wail on the trades, people that are actually playing the game. They're doing it for the good of the game. Should also point out, and again, it's on the slide, but when beta testing opens, beta is beta, right? If you jump in on beta testing for this game, expect there to be bugs. Bugs are a staple of beta. If you are playing in the beta, report the bugs and don't complain about them because you're there to find them. That's what a beta test is. So, I just love this screenshot too with the Dragapult VMAX. I love how they've got the big numbers on there so you can see what the damage counters are on there, what the HP is, what the damage is. It's so clean. I love it. All right, release. So when the heck is this coming? Guess what? We don't know. We know PC Mac Global Open Beta is coming later this year. We know soft launch for mobile is also coming to devices in Canada. That's what we know. Fusion Strike product packaging mentions PTCGL. That's actually how we first found out about it. So it's possible that at least the beta is coming soon. But we don't know. That's ultimately we don't know. That it could release with Fusion Strike. It could release prior to Fusion Strike. It could not release until March. We don't know. Either way, it's exciting. It's exciting that it's finally coming. All right. So with that, that is my highlight reel, if you will, of what we know about Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. Do we have questions? Do we have any lingering ideas or things that I missed that chat would like to bring up before we end this stream? I should mention it's going to be really great to be able to you can just go to Pokemon.com and play PTCG Live instead of being like, you can download this old client and play through a terrible tutorial and Yeah. Why can't I get it now? Why can't I get it now? Yeah, that's a question we'd all like the answer to. But I mean, they were never going to give it to us right away, right? So wish list. So Zemer says, add some sort of match history and replays. So theoretically, that should be possible, right? Although technically, that should even be possible in PTCGO because there is a log, right? It does keep a log of what's going on and where. I would love to see something like that in PTCG Live. Zemer says, and also spectating. Yes, please. It would be very, very wonderful to just be able to spectate a game. Like let's say Twitchy and Bunnybird are playing a game for League at Home. I would like to be able to just jump in on live and watch. Be like, okay, well, let's see. What do they have, right? What's going on? That would be wonderful to just jump in and be able to watch. It'd make it easier for streamers too, because they wouldn't have to rely on their people playing for their streams, right? They wouldn't have to be like, okay, hey, can you stream? Hey, can you stream? Hey, can you stream? They don't have to worry about that anymore. They can just be like, okay, cool. We can jump into the game. We can watch. Super good. I really hope that comes. David Rainey says, what do you think are the chances of hosting tournaments with custom rules and bans? I don't think it's coming at launch. The fact that they don't have expanded support seems extremely unlikely at launch. Do I think it's coming in the future? Knowing Pokemon, probably not, to be honest. It would be really nice to be able to host tournaments and stuff with custom rules and formats in the game. Like supported in the game itself. Like, okay, like you can load this format and it does stuff for you. I don't know that they'll support it at all, honestly, because I mean they didn't carry over Legacy from PTCGO. That was PTCGO's custom format. That was a format designed specifically for PTCGO. I don't actually see it happening. I know that's something a lot of players, myself included, do want. I would love to be able to like, okay, I'm hosting a tournament on PTCG Live. It's aceless format or it's popper format. This is banless. This is a card pool. That'd be amazing. I don't know that they're gonna work on the features necessary to bring that to the game. I'd love to be wrong though. Match replays. You could relive your clutch moments. Yes, I would absolutely love to be able to be seen or to re-see rather, getting into one and then having that card blown away with Mars and chip my top deck so I draw into nothing. It'd be great. My best clutch moments. There are a lot of things I'd love for them to support in TCG Live, but ultimately their priority, especially at launch, is going to be making sure the game works correctly with as few bugs as possible, and then supporting the rest of the card pool for expanded. That's going to be their priority. They really can't want more than that at launch. I don't know how many developers they have on this client, but I suspect it's probably not more than a couple. And they're not going to pay that many people to develop it, right? But if they can get 2 or 3 developers on this and have them working full time on it, they'll do what they can. But ultimately, they do have to prioritize making sure the card pool works, making sure the card pool is where it's supposed to be, and making sure the basic features of the game work. And if they do ultimately end up introducing microtransactions, they're going to want to make sure that they work very, very well. Because microtransactions, if money's involved, suddenly, people get touchy. So, alrighty, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and end the stream here. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys learned a little bit, or at least got a little bit more excited for PTCG Live than you might have otherwise been. It's going to be good. I am very much looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. With that said, I will catch you guys on the Justin Basil Discord server. I will see you soon.